I was scrolling the internet the other day and I saw this website, not website, but a Instagram page had Happy Punch. I'm going to give them a little bit of love. Khabib had done an interview and they had some comments about the current situation that's going on in the UFC. I'm going to go ahead and share that video with you guys, and you guys can go ahead and let me know what your thoughts are on as I share this video. So let's go ahead and here we go. Khabib was talking about and said, let me just go ahead and read it first, and he'll go ahead and get into it and explain it himself. I don't like this. They need somebody who talks, drinks, all this stuff. This is sport. Best versus best. Not like best dancer, best haircut, or who has the most followers. It has to be fair. I can agree with them on this situation, but let's go ahead and pull up the rest of the conversation, and we'll go ahead and play that for you.
They just finished contract. They don't give him new contract. Honestly, somebody have to talk about this. This is what I don't like. Because I remember myself, 2012, when just they signed me, they told me, my friend, your name it's very hard to say your name. You need a nickname. I'm like, what? I have my name. Why I need nickname? And I asked my manager, what is this nickname? What do you mean? Nickname? I have my name. No, because your name is very hard for them to say. Okay, I take Eagle because it's symbol of Dagestan. But after 6 years, everybody knows my name. They need somebody who talking, who drinking, who show up, all this stuff. You understand? they want these kind of fighters. In end of the day, this is sport, best versus best. Not like best dancer or who have best haircut, fight or who have best followers. They like trash talking, they like entertainment. I understand. It's have to be fair.
He's 100% correct. I think what we've gotten away from in this situation is we've gotten away from the sport aspect of it all. And the sport aspect is the best versus the best. And that's the thing that really, I think, bothers a lot of people. And for me, especially, it bothers me because ultimately, when you're a fighter, you want to be considered the best. And part of me, when I stepped away from the sport, I'm going to make this about me for a split second here, is because I'm speaking from experience. Is once I realized after the Tony fight, I only had a couple more fights left in me. I was like, I can't take this amount of damage. I've never taken this amount of damage. I can't take this amount of damage moving forward. And I just knew that it was getting closer to time because I'd never, ever taken any type of damage, not like that. And I just knew, I was like, hey, something needs to wrap up. And if you want to be considered the best, you have this short period of time to do it. And since I knew it was towards the end, I decided to leave the UFC, sign a bigger contract with Bellator, get a huge signing bonus, all of those things. But in this situation, these fighters, they have a short period of time to be the best, and they want to fight the best. And if I'm somebody who brings the best to the cage, you have Mokaev. There's no reason for him not to be in there. I know he's hard to deal with. Maybe it's a problem. I mean, it's an issue. But I think him going away and coming back, I think he probably understands. He's fighting for peanuts right now, I would imagine. He's probably making maybe 10 grand at the most to fight these guys. And he's taking a chance every single time he gets inside that cage. Because if he loses, whoever beats him is going to probably get signed right away to the UFC. So that's the hard part, I think, is when I look at Mokaev, he should be in the UFC. There's no reason for him not to be, other than maybe his manager is hard to deal with. Maybe he's difficult to deal with. But I think this time away has probably really opened his eyes and been like, hey, okay, I'm ready to come back. I'm ready just to fight the best. I'm ready to go out there and show what I can do. And I think that they need to honor that. The same thing with Fakhretdinov. He just got let go. I believe he was 6-0 or something like that. In some of the fights were not great. But just because we have too many Russian fighters or too many fighters from one region, we shouldn't be looking to let them go. They've made their name inside the UFC. Let's go ahead and establish them and continue to build on them. If you don't want to streamline them to the title, cool. I get it. But let's not pretend pretend that the wrestlers have had a streamline right to the title. Take a look at the guys, whether it's Umar, whether it's Islam, whether it's Khabib, whether it's John Fitch. I'm speaking from the guys that I know personally, but all those guys were wrestlers. None of them were streamlined to the title. None of them. What, Fitch had like 11 or 12 fights in a row or 9 fights or something like that. He had to win to get a title shot. Remember how they treated him because he didn't sign the likeness agreement or whatever the hell it was called? So they owned his likeness. He didn't sign that, so they told him they cut him. And then they signed him right back after Lorenzo Fertitta got involved. There's never been a streamline for the wrestlers. There's only a streamline for the strikers. And I'm not taking a dig at this guy at all because I love this guy. He's one of my favorite fighters, probably of all time, is Alex Bahia. They knew what they were doing. They got him and they wanted to get him to the title as fast as they could because Izzy was still there. They wanted to get him there. And I'm not going to be here. I'm not going to stand up here and argue that. I'm looking forward. I was looking forward to watching that fight happen. But they did the same thing with Conor McGregor. Remember? They're like, oh, well, he fought Chad Mendes. He fought him on short notice. I believe it was like, 8 days notice or something they gave Chad? And Chad was still able to take him down several times. Got tired, then loses. But regardless, they streamlined him. And then, look, and in all fairness, and I'm not taking a dig at him either, Conor did what he was supposed to do. He went out there and knocked out Jose Aldo in 13 seconds. Went out there and made Eddie Alvarez look like an amateur, which is unheard of. Then he went out there and went 10 rounds or whatever it was with Floyd Mayweather. And we can say that Floyd carried him. We can say all that stuff. But none of us know. So don't sit here and say, oh, well, he carried him. You don't know. I don't know. None of us know. Bottom line is, he went 10 rounds. He landed a couple good shots on Floyd. Let's not pretend like he didn't. Wasn't going to finish Floyd, but, we don't even know that. But I'm saying, like, he was able to land some hard shots. Probably more so than any of us would ever do. So you got to give the man a little bit of credit in that situation. But what Khabib is saying here, I don't like this. They need somebody who talks, drinks, and this stuff. That's kind of where this sport has gone. It's the entertainment business. They know what sells. The Sugar Sean O'Malley's, the Conor McGregor's, they're hoping that it becomes more of what happened with Conor. They saw the amount of money that Conor McGregor made them. They saw what Conor McGregor did to the UFC, how it exploded the UFC. And they're like, okay, this is the direction that we need to go. We need to fall into the influencer world. 100% they need to. 100%. But what they need to do, though, too, is remember that the best fighters need to be in the UFC. And I've said this for 15 years or so. Not all the best fighters are in the UFC. They weren't even in the UFC when the UFC owned both companies. The UFC owned the WEC, the UFC owned Strikeforce, and they owned the UFC. They were all in different companies, organizations for a while. So they weren't even all in the same company back then. So to think that, like, there's fighters that are out there that are really good that are being released because they're boring or because maybe they're a little bit more difficult to deal with. That it happens. It happens all the time. But like guys like Mokaev, right? You got to get him back. The 125-pound division, I think, is probably the best it's ever been. But right now, it's also getting a little stale. I like that Joshua Van got the win, but Pantoja's going to be out for 9 to 10 months, maybe even longer, depending on how bad the injury is. There's going to be get him in there, get him to mix it up. Let's get him back in that mix. Fakhretdinov, I mean, look, you can do what you want. Look, for me, I didn't mind watching him fight. I'm not going to say he was a barn burner, but I believe he was 6-0, I think, in the UFC. I don't understand why, unless you were asking for some ridiculous amount of money and you couldn't come to an agreement. I mean, yeah, I get, like, if you don't want to let him go, let him go. I mean, the UFC has the right to do whatever they want. I'm not here to tell them how to run their business. I'm here to inform my listeners or, our fans here, basically telling them that this is what the UFC does. They say, if you're getting a little bit older, we're going to offer you a little less money because we know you can't really go anywhere else. And you can if you want, like I did. I went somewhere else and made a lot more money. But do you want to still be in the UFC? Right now, I had the option to go to Bellator. I had the option to go to PFL. So I could have made, I could have probably made a little bit more money maybe in the PFL. and fought in their tournament, which I wasn't on board with the whole tournament thing because the points and all the other stuff. But it did seem enticing at the time, to be honest. It was $1 million, win 3 fights or 4 fights. I'm in. I could do it. Sure. But in this situation, it's like, this is sport, best versus best. We've gotten away from that. I'd like to make sure that we keep the sport still. It's sport. It's about the best fighters fighting the best fighters. Ultimately, what happened with the PFL, they were trying to make this thing into something that they were trying to make it like a tournament. And look, we like the tournaments where the best person moves on. It's not a point system tournament. And that was, they spent millions and millions of dollars trying to make that work. And ultimately, if you're a fan at home, what did you care about? All you cared about was the best fighter moved on and fought the best fighter who moved on from the other bracket. That's all you cared about. Why am I watching a guy who won one, lost one, who's now fighting the guy in the next round that he just lost to or just beat because that guy had more points? It didn't make any sense. So ultimately, that gimmick didn't work, and they lost millions and millions of dollars trying to make that work. All fans care about, this is all they'll ever care about, is I want to see the best fighter fight the best fighter, and the winner moves on, and that's it. Don't get me wrong, they want to see entertainment. So if you can get those fighters in there with some entertainment, that's great. And we can kind of feed them in a little. We can feed them the Connors. We can feed them the Sugar Sean O'Malley's. We can give them those guys that like have that personality, have the, the rainbow hair. We can give them that. We like I do the show with Angelo, right? Angelo loves the freak show fights. I like the freak show fights too. They're fun. But I'm not out there saying that guy's the best guy, fighting the best guy. I'm not doing that. But you love to watch the fight. We love that. Let's not forget, this sport to me was at one of its all-time highs when there was nothing but freak fights. Pride. You had Bob Sapp. Remember how many times people cared about watching Bob Sapp? Bob Sapp can't fight. Can't fight for shit. Bob Sapp will tell you he couldn't fight for shit. Bob Sapp hated getting hit. He talked about how much he hated to get punched. He's like, no, and then even when he got done towards the end of his career, he would tell promoters, I'm going to go down in a minute 32. If I can't finish this guy in a minute 32, I'm going down. Taking my 60 grand or my 100 grand, I'm out of here. Like, whatever. You do what you want to do, buddy. But let's not forget, like one of the best times to be alive in our sport was during the freak show fights. You remember how crazy we all thought it was that Mirko was going to fight Vanderlei, or Mirko was going to fight Fedor, or like a pro wrestler, or like a judoka, Olympic gold medalist, or whatever was going to fight an MMA guy. You had the Japanese Soul. Remember that pro wrestling company in Japan called Soul? They had their wrestlers that came over and fought MMA guys, legit fought MMA guys, got their asses kicked. Those were freak show fights. Vegeta was a pro wrestler, came over. He dropped Fedor, rocked Fedor, had him on a stanky. I don't know if he dropped him. I'm trying to remember. I believe he just got him on stanky leg, and almost beat Fedor. Can you imagine the insaneness it would have been had Vegeta been able to finish Fedor? Insane. Would have been absolutely crazy. But we fell in love with freak show fights in the beginning. But they also had real fights mixed in. Okay? In the UFC right now, they've gotten rid of the ability to do freak show fights. And then now it should just be the best fighters versus the best fighters. And that's kind of where we're at. So when you're cutting guys that are undefeated in the UFC, haven't lost, they've got wins, like it's setting a precedent that it's not like that's not good enough anymore to be the best. And that's not okay. So if you don't like them because they were boring, but you knew they were kind of boring coming into the UFC, you knew they were just a wrestler, which means that less wrestlers are going to get signed. And the wrestlers are the ones that, I kid you not, they will go out on their shield. Whereas you'll find that a lot of kickboxers, and this is not a dig at any kickboxers, they will turn and give their back, get choked so they can get the fight stopped. If they're getting dominated and destroyed, they'll turn and give their backs to get choked. See it all the time. I don't want to say it is the easy way out. But wrestlers they will fight their asses off. It's in them to grind it out. It's in them to keep pushing. Maybe not all, but I would say 99% of them that are in the UFC, they don't want to give up. They work too hard to get where they're at. I just don't, I agree with what Khabib is saying, that we've gotten away from what the sport was built around. And I don't mind the tweaks here and there of, inserting someone, like I said, with the Alex Bahia situation. I loved it. I wanted it. I was all for it. I was like, yeah, Izzy's been champion too long. Let's see what he can do against Alex. Let's see what happens. That's what I want to see. And we ended up getting a great, this whole great matchup. Alex gets the win, comes back. Then Izzy comes back and beats Alex. Like we got two really good fights out of that. Great fights. I'm all for it. That the division got a little stale and stagnant. It was a great division at the time, but it was getting a little stale and stagnant. And the injection of Alex was great. I felt like the same thing when Eddie Alvarez came over and he was the injection. Same thing with Michael Chandler, the injection into the lightweight division, because the lightweight division is getting a little stale, Justin Gaethje was a perfect example. Justin Gaethje came in, and who did they give him? And no way am I saying they fed him guys that favored him. I'm saying that they knew what they needed to do to get the best out of him. Michael Johnson, Eddie Alvarez, Dustin Poirier, they knew these are the guys that we need to give him because we can get the best crowd. We can get the best numbers out of him. Having him fight these guys, 100%. So look, the UFC knows how to promote. They know what they're doing. They can sell for a moment there. They were telling you that Ronda Rousey could spar or fight or box Floyd Mayweather, and people fucking believed it. I had random people on the airplane telling me, so could this Ronda girl, is she really that good? Can she box Floyd? I was like, no. No, but it's a good gimmick. The UFC can sell ice to an Eskimo. They can do it. They are the biggest PR. They know how to promote better than any NFL team, NBA team, NHL, MLB, any other promotion in the world. They do a better job at it than anyone else. Hands down. So I look, as much as they're digging on the wrestlers right now, I hate to see it because I know how hard those wrestlers work to get there. And maybe they got to make some tweaks here and there. The wrestlers, you have to understand where you're at. You've got to concede a little bit too. I'm not saying go out there and just become a stand-up guy. What I'm saying is take a little page out of Khabib's book. He understood he was never going to be a stand-up guy who just stood and banged. He was going to be the guy that took you down, controlled you so much, but learned how to ground and pound just viciously while he was talking to you, while he was telling you, this is my destiny. I need to be the champion. Fans eat that shit up. Are you kidding me? So you need to make you need to concede those type of things. Make the adjustments that way. Corey Anderson didn't make those adjustments that way. So he had some problems with the UFC. They were trying to get him to stand more. And when he did stand, he got in trouble. He got in trouble. Got dropped, got knocked out. Those are moments where you don't want to concede so much where you leave yourself in a bad position. But you need to progressively get better. Work more in the gym on trying to do better at ground and pound. Work more in the gym to do better at getting submissions, finishing the fights. Do those things. The promotion's working with you. You got to work with the promotion. It goes both ways. You're both here to make each other money. They're here to pay you a lot of money, and you're there to make them money. You guys work together in tandem. So, look, as much as I hate Khabib being as much as I hate saying that Khabib is correct, 100% correct on this, because it bothers me that the UFC has gone this direction. But he is 100% correct. We've gotten away from the traditional best versus best, and that sucks. But both sides need to make some concessions. Fighters need to make the concession. Look, I need to make some changes here and there. Don't leave yourself vulnerable to get knocked out because winning solves everything. Keep winning. Sadly, Fakhretdinov winning didn't solve everything. And that's usually my motto. But in this situation, it didn't solve it for him. Winning wasn't good enough. That sets precedent with the UFC on what they're doing, which is very sad. It's frustrating, I think, if you're a fighter who's undefeated in the UFC or a fighter who is having success, whether it's boring or not, like you got to let them just keep playing out. You got to let them keep fighting. So it bothers me. It upsets me. Khabib is 100% correct in this situation. We have gone this way, but as fans, we have to speak up. We have to tell people like, we enjoy these type of fights. Maybe we don't enjoy. They're all great. I get it. But I want to see the best guy. And if you can't, like Rogan said this a while back, he said there should be no stand-ups. If you can't get up, you can't get up. But for TV, that's not good. But Rogan's kind of onto something. Like if you can't get off the fence, if you can't get up to your feet, then you're not really winning the fight. No one's going to say in a street fight, hey, let's just stand you guys up because, it's kind of getting boring. No. You can't get up. I'm going to beat your ass from the top position, make you tired, make you carry my weight. The best fighters fight the best fighters. It's a little bit of a problem when you're saying that we have all the best fighters and then yet you're cutting fighters who are undefeated in your organization. That's what's problematic. And as much as I'm all in on the UFC right now, man, I'm all in on it. Dana knows all of his fighters' names, unlike some other promotions. He knows all their names. He knows his fighters, especially the ones that are on the main card, especially the ones that are his champions. Don't get me wrong. He stuttered and stumbled over sometimes of his fighters' names. I get it, guys. He's also got 700 fighters on his roster. So let's give him a little bit of a break. He's doing 52 shows a year. I'm going to cut him some slack on how much he stumbles over people's names. There's a lot of fighters to keep track of. It's nonstop. So I'm going to give him a little bit of a pass on sometimes when he stumbles. Like, 'cause one time he forgot Islam's name. He was like, yeah. He was working through it. You could tell he was really bothered him that he couldn't get the name out of his mouth. He's like, but yeah, it happens. I just don't want to see the sport go into where we're just promoting the guys who drink the most, the guys who, are out there, the flashiest guys, but then don't win. Those are like, they're sure they can be good, but we can't keep pushing these guys in a direction if they can't get a win. I hope we get away from that. I want to see the best guys fight the best guys. And that's kind of where we're at. And look, if they leave for a little bit, you got to let them go and they come back. Like Mokaev, he comes back, has great performances. We'll see. I love the fact that I think Hunter Campbell reached out to Mokaev after I think his last fight and said, great job, you look good. That lets me know they're softening up a little bit to him. Hey, I believe you got a good knockout, and that's what they're looking for. Can you give me some knockouts? Can you give me some finishes? That's what they're looking for. So good on them. Hopefully they bring him back. I'm looking forward to a little shot in the arm in that division. You add him in there, you're getting another world-class fighter. You add that with Horiguchi. You've got, Tatsuro Taira. Shit, you got your top 5 right there. Manal Kopp. You've got your top 5, 6 guys right there. I'm good. I'll take that. The heavyweight division doesn't have that shit right now. They got 2 guys. That's it. We're waiting on that fight. Still waiting. So, all right, guys. Well, hey, hopefully you guys enjoyed my little rant. I know it was a lot, but hey, I want to thank you guys so much. If you guys like this, hit that subscribe button and we will see you.